This is Santorini, one of many islands on the Aegean that straddle Greece and Turkey. In this episode, we take a cruise across the Aegean Sea to where some of the most famous island destinations in Europe can be found. Legendary islands that have captivated emperors, mystics, philosophers, and of course, travelers over the millennia. So join us. I'm David Celdran, and this is Executive Class. Like most modern journeys across the Aegean Sea, ours begins in ancient Athens, the capital of Greece. It's possible to visit the islands on your own, but if it's your first time, we recommend a guided holiday. A company like Trafalgar eliminates the guesswork of navigating the cultural labyrinth that is Greece. With pre-arranged transport, accommodations, and local experts by your side, you'll spend less time stressing about the details and more time enjoying the ancient wonders of Greece. Our Aegean Odyssey starts at the port of Piraeus, just outside Athens. It's a journey to islands we've only come across in history books and legends, but in society pages and paparazzi photos too. Yes, this is Greece, where the mix of Hellenic culture and hedonistic pleasure has lured and intoxicated travelers for more than 2,000 years. And aboard the Louis Olympia, we're already feeling it. In a way, a cruise gives you a taste of things to come, a preview, so to speak, of the Aegean's famous sun, perfectly blue sea, and party culture. It's also a great way to pick up a few Greek habits, like ouzo, a strong local spirit. Sharing a drink is the best way to make friends in Greece. We'll keep that in mind for later. Mykonos, even from afar, is a stunningly beautiful island, but don't let the serene view fool you. Not even the Church of St. Nicholas that greets you. This is the Aegean's party capital, its Sin City, so to speak. And it's been this way since hippies discovered the island in the 60s and later gays in the 70s. At first, it was the hedonistic hideaway for wealthy Greeks and global celebrities. Onassis, the Rolling Stones, they all made Mykonos their playground. But the place lost its flair when backpackers followed in the 80s, mass tourism in the 90s. Mykonos has since recovered some of its lost luster, and in the less crowded parts of the island, you'll see why. The villages are absolutely charming, immaculately clean and well preserved. Part of the reason why Mykonos has been able to keep its small village charm despite the influx of mass tourism is a strict enforcement of a building code that stays true to the original Cycladic architecture of the island. Not even Louis Vuitton is exempt. The traditional cubicle style is typical of the Cycladic islands, perfectly adapted to the weather. The whitewashed walls reflect the harsh sun, and the flat roofs were designed to collect rainwater. The narrow streets are literally a labyrinth, meant to confuse invaders and pirates, and unfortunately, harmless visitors like me. Not to worry, Trafalgar provides local experts who guide you through the maze. Licensed guide Maria Eleni Sfelu visited Mykonos many years back and vowed never to leave. I see why. There's an old world charm here that tempers the full-on party vibe. A quick stroll around the island provides you with so many wonderful photo opportunities, but none quite as iconic as this shot behind me. It's called Little Venice for a reason. The houses that cling to the cliffs resemble those that line Venetian canals. At sunset, the view along the beach is so spectacular. It creates a rare hush on this otherwise noisy island. Sunset may be the most picturesque moment in Mykonos, but it's only after dark that the town really comes alive. I'm told there's more life on the island at 7:30 a.m. than at 7:30 p.m. It's 9 in the evening, but the party's only starting. In summer, dinner is served outdoors. A popular spot is Paraportiani, a traditional taverna close to the main cathedral of the same name. A typical meal on the island involves fresh seafood and local vegetables, and always with extra virgin olive oil, washed down with local wine, or ouzo of course. Good value, great food, and wonderful company under the Mykonos sky. It surely is hard saying goodbye. It's morning in the Aegean port of Kusadashi, our staging point to the ancient city of Ephesus along the western coast of Turkey. Welcome to Turkey. Turkey is at the crossroads of East and West, where the great religions and civilizations of the ancient world once met and clashed. One of the earliest Christian communities was based in Ephesus, and baptism wells like this was where they were converted to their new faith. There are baptismal wells like this all over Turkey, but this one in the mountains above Ephesus is special. St. John the Apostle was known to have preached here, and Christians believe that he took the mother of Jesus along with him. This is considered one of the holiest pilgrimage sites of the Catholic faith. It's a house where the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ, spent her final days on earth. Although Turkey today is a predominantly Muslim nation, the Quran regards the Virgin Mary very highly, and that's why Catholics, Orthodox Christians, and even Muslims come here to pray. Though some scholars dispute the claim, you can't help but feel the holiness of the place. Pilgrims are unfazed by the skeptics and come to purify with holy water from a natural spring that runs beneath the chapel, leaving prayers for the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Christians were persecuted in the Roman Empire, but were tolerated for the most part in Ephesus. Perhaps the Romans were too busy building their glorious colony in the east, the second largest city of antiquity. But this is what's left of Rome's once proud city, rubble and ruins, only recently discovered and excavated. When the harbor was silted in the 6th century, Ephesus lost its port, and with it, its place as an important maritime colony. Malaria soon followed, ensuring the quick decline of the city. Abandoned, the city fell into ruin, but with the help of a scholarly guide, Ephesus comes alive.
Down here, you see this gate here that you go straight? This is the gate of Hercules. And you see on the other side of it...
Anne Spirakis, Trafalgar's travel director, can recreate the city in your imagination. Some areas easier than others. Partially restored are ceremonial gates, statues of Roman deities, terraced apartments where the wealthy lived, and the baths and latrines they used to keep clean. Impressive too is the amphitheater, one of the largest of ancient times. This is definitely one of the highlights of the archaeological site. It's a Celsius library, partially restored of course, but even if it's incomplete, you still get a sense of the grandeur of this place. Only about 30% of the ancient city has been excavated. The results are promising, and in years to come, definitely worth revisiting. The region around Ephesus may have lost its political significance, but not its cultural and commercial value. The area is well known for its carpet trade, and schools like Turkmen keep the tradition alive.
If these carpets fade, then we're going to have a lot of faded sheep in the world. Okay? It's the natural color of the wool, therefore there's no dyes in here that you'll find.
When it comes to Oriental carpets, Persian-made rugs are usually top of mind, but insiders know that Turkish-made rugs are just as fine, if not even better. And here we'll show you why. Authentic Turkish carpets are hand-woven from silk, cotton, and wool fibers, using skills handed down through generations of artisans. Weaving is still done the traditional way, with hand looms and knots using a double loop that's unique to Turkey.
Having more knots.
The more knots, the better the quality, and the more detailed the design. And the higher the price, of course, as it also takes much longer to craft. A simple one could take up to 2 years to make, double, even triple that for larger and more intricate ones.
Did that change color? Okay.
Back at sea, we cross over to Greece. In ancient times, boundaries were non-existent, and people traveled freely. One such traveler was John the Divine. Here in the quiet island of Patmos, he envisioned the end of days. If Mykonos is better known for partying, the holy island of Patmos is better suited for praying. They're practically polar opposites of each other. Now, this holy site behind me was where St. John wrote the book of Revelations. It's called the Cave of the Apocalypse, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that's also one of Christendom's most sacred places. Photography is strictly prohibited, but miraculously we were permitted. From an opening in the cave, John heard the voice of God, visions he dictated to Prochorus, his disciple. The text written here became the book of the Revelation, the Apocalypse, the end of time. Even doubters admit to feeling something spiritual about Patmos, and a walk through the village of Hora reveals a peaceful, aura. It's the start of the Greek summer, and amazingly, the streets are empty. With no crowds rushing you, it's the ideal place to take in the scenery or explore the village streets. Just like the other Greek islands, the architecture of Patmos was meant for one thing: survival. And protection from pirates. High and thick stone walls reveal little of who or what's behind. Double windows that can only be opened from inside. And the tangle of narrow lanes to mislead the intruder and trap the outsider. For centuries, the windy and mountainous terrain of Patmos was its best defense. Today, it remains an advantage, providing vistas that leave you breathless. Nowhere more than in the hills above Hora, where old windmills still stand. In Patmos, this is the ultimate revelation. The voice of the divine whispering in the wind. Patmos may be calm, but not lifeless. Locals and visitors do know how to enjoy living, just not in excess. It's the same with our dinner, unadorned but unimaginably fresh. It's Greek island cuisine and village life at its unpretentious best. In the fading light of sunset, we say farewell to Patmos, mystical and magical, and entirely memorable. Up next, our Greek Odyssey continues in the island fortress of Rhodes, before ending our journey by sea in the scenic cliffside villages of Santorini. Our Aegean adventure continues with an early morning stop in the island of Rhodes. The view of the walled city, the citadel of Rhodes, dominates the port. This was where the Crusader Knights of St. John, the so-called Hospitallers, were based after retreating from the Holy Land in the 14th century. Rhodes was a strategic strongpoint. It sits on one of the busiest sea routes of the Mediterranean. Naturally, Rhodes was attacked repeatedly, but the knights built one of the most impregnable fortresses of its time. Numbering just over 1,000 knights, they finally surrendered to the Ottoman Turks after a prolonged siege, but on the condition that the citadel and its citizens be spared, and the knights allowed to leave for Malta unharmed. This is why the old city is remarkably preserved. It's also how the Knights of Malta got their name. Here along the Street of the Knights was where the Hospitallers lived. The cobblestones, the walls, they were all original. It doesn't seem like it, but about 4,000 people live within the medieval walls of Rhodes. It's a living, breathing city. That's a great thing about it. It may look like a movie set, and in fact, it's often used as one. But Rhodes is also a thriving multicultural city with more to offer than history. The shopping and dining scene here is A1, but beware the tourist traps. There are dozens and dozens of restaurants and cafes right inside the medieval walls of Rhodes. But here's a tip. Choose one that's off the beaten track. They're so much better and they're so much more charming. Local knowledge is key, and our travel director Anne Spirakis knows exactly what we're craving for. There's more to the Greek dining scene than souvlaki's. The classy outdoor terrace of Romeos is a welcome departure from the touristy tavernas. As is the cooking. For a change, hearty, creamy and rich. It's still Greek, just not what you'd expect.
The mushroom, right? Don't touch. Yes.
Don't touch. Greens, lamb, beef and chicken, all are typical Greek ingredients, but prepared differently. Rhodes, after all, is a melange of cultures: Arab, Turk, Italian, and of course Greek. It's reflected in their food and in its ancient history. We're on our way to Lindos along coastal roads to visit its world-famous Acropolis. On its own, the lovely whitewashed town of Lindos is worth the hour-long drive, as are its beaches. But it's the Acropolis nestled above that puts Lindos on most bucket lists. It's quite a climb, but a €5 donkey ride takes you there much faster. Yeah. It's also more fun and scenic too, passing through village streets along the way and breathtaking views of St. Paul's Bay. That was fun. There are exactly 297 steps to the Acropolis. The donkey ride cuts that journey by 100 steps, so it's still a long way to go. The approach continues through the walls of a castle built by the Knights of St. John, a string of forts that protected Rhodes. Good thing the Christian knights spared what was left of the pagan temple complex, because what little there is still manages to impress. It's ruins all over, but here and there a standing structure, like the columns of what was once a portico or Greek stoa, and the massive staircase leading to the remains a propylaea. And beyond it, on the summit, the Doric temple built for Athena Lindia. The Mycenaeans, the Greeks, and later the Romans all traveled here to pay tribute to the goddess Athena or Minerva. The Acropolis of Rhodes is a significant archaeological site with a rich back history, but compared to the one in Athens, it's not as impressive. That is until you consider the surrounding scenery. It's one of the best in Greece. The view is consolation for those less interested in antiquity, but for the ancients, it must have felt like heaven. But the crowded summit drags you down to earth. Dimitri, our guide, recommends avoiding the hours before noon when the place is busiest. So to escape the madness, he takes us away for a bit of window shopping. For the ancient Greeks, pottery was one of the highest of arts. Unfortunately, in Rhodes, only 6 families are left practicing it, and this is one of them. The Bonis family is one of them, and their patriarch Andoni still comes to work each day to paint his ceramic pottery. While in the workshop below, his son molds each piece from clay by hand. In Greece, sons inherit their father's trade, and with it, generations of knowledge. Theirs is a unique skill, and the technique used to produce the intricate relief effect is flawless. Plates, cups, and vases are popular gifts in Greece, and those crafted by hand are considered heirlooms. It doesn't only say that it's 100% handmade, it also says who actually made it. One of their best sellers is a cup of justice, an invention of Pythagoras. The mathematician-philosopher designed it to prove a moral point.
Inside this cup, there's a terracotta color. I'm putting some wine inside, it stays. I adjust some more, I overpass the level, all goes away. As a punishment of being greedy. The cup of justice of Pythagoras.
Moderation is a value Greeks cherish, and it's expressed in the healthy Greek diet and a stress-free way of life. This we saw for ourselves in our next port of call, the city of Heraklion in Crete. It's a lovely laid-back atmosphere in Crete. It's the middle of the morning and already so many people are hitting their cafes with a frappe and the local delicacy, bougatsa. Yes, you could learn a lot about living from the locals. After 4 days of intensive traveling, you need to remind yourself you're in Greece. And in Crete, where it's sunny year-round, this is how you relax. The mild climate and the rich soil make Crete the top agricultural producer in Greece. Produce from the best fruit and vegetable farms in Crete are delivered to the port of Heraklion. Much of it finds its way to the local market, especially Crete's top export, olives and olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is a specialty of Crete. The best in the world, says John, the owner of Kartofli. The only way to find out is to taste it, straight up. The oil from Crete is lower in acidity, but still has bite. It's smooth and extremely aromatic. The best are pressed in small farms using a method of cold extraction. The stall next door sells another famous local delicacy, cheese made from sheep's milk. The young mild cheese is fantastic on its own, but heavenly when paired with another Cretan specialty, honey. Honey from the thyme-covered hills of Crete is prized all over the world for its natural sweetness and rich flavor, and some say medicinal qualities. Energized by Crete's famous healthy diet, we set sail for the final leg of our Aegean holiday, the island of Santorini. It's probably the most famous of the Greek islands, certainly one of the most photographed. Known among Greeks as Tyros, the occupying Italians named it after Saint Irene, thus Santorini. The island group forms the outline of an active volcano's mouth. The cliff sides that villages cling to are the interior wall of the caldera. This is Santorini, and we've saved the best for last. Visitors short on time head straight to the village of Ia, where the most famous views of the island are. It's the same vista you see on postcards and calendars, with the tourist airbrushed out of the picture, of course. The whitewashed walls, the iconic blue church domes, the terraced homes. This is the Santorini people travel across the world for. And even with the snap-happy tourists everywhere, it's somehow still magical. The crowds disappear when the last cruise ships leave port, but there's no time to wait, and we're off to a quiet corner of Santorini few are aware of. No doubt Aegean is beautiful, but the downside is the crush of tourists. If you want a taste of Santorini before mass tourism invaded the island, this is it. Pyrgos. It's just so quiet here. There's practically nobody. Yes, this is what I hoped Santorini would be like. And even without the world-famous views, at least the scenery is mine alone to enjoy. Pyrgos is the highest point in Santorini, and though the coastline isn't as visible from here, the panoramic view of the island is awe-inspiring. Professional photographer Tryphon Georgopoulos feels the same. Over a glass of Nykteri, wine from a local grape, he explains why Pyrgos is his favorite. The varied colored palette that's perfect for his photography. The unspoiled village life, rare in Santorini. And picturesque summer evenings on a hilltop bar like this. This is the image of the Greek islands I'm taking back with me. Moments like this above Santorini, with the sun setting, its reflection on the water smoldering. Across the Aegean Sea, in Mykonos, in Patmos, similar scenes unfold. Images that have captivated and inspired civilizations for centuries. And that's all for this episode of Executive Class. Join us again next time as we take you to the second part of our journey through Greece. I'm David Celdran. Thanks for watching.